a wonderful introduction that has absolutely in no way put me under any pressure at all whatsoever. A little bit of further background. Unlike most people, I think, in this room, I'm not an agriculture specialist. I'm not a food production specialist. Everything I know about these two topics is stuff that I've learnt here in the last 2 days. So, yeah, I'm fundamentally either a musician or a bureaucrat, depending on the way in which you wish to see me. I know there's been problems with people being able to read the slides, so I printed them on a bit of paper that looks a bit like this, and hopefully that will provide some details and some references to stuff I might or might not want to talk about. Now, my background in open educational resources, as Christine says, I have been looking after the UK OER programme. Now, this is something that's been working directly with academics in institutions across the UK to get them interested in releasing resources and getting them to actually start releasing resources and keep releasing resources. In that respect, it's been a bit different to the AgShare model, I think, because we've been looking primarily at cultural change. So we're kind of over here. We want people to start releasing OER and, more importantly, keep releasing OER even though we've stopped giving them money. Now, that's a different concern, something that might be right over this side, which is effectively a model of purchasing content and then releasing it openly. That's got a different set of quality ideas, a different set of things that you might actually want to do or be able to do that you can't do over here in the world of just trying to get as many people as possible to release and keep releasing as much research as possible. I think it is primarily over here that my background is. So those of you that were unlucky enough to be on the table with me yesterday talking about monitoring use and all that will probably be aware that I occasionally say stuff that's slightly different to what might be the expectation of people that are kind of more over there. So the first thing that I did when I was asked by Christine to talk about this area, and this isn't the area that I normally talk about, was to think, okay, lots of people must have put together quality assurance processes for OER. So the easiest thing to do is just to go and look at what they did and then steal it. But it turns out not very many institutions have got specific quality processes that are looking at OER. The reason for this, I think, is interesting. The vast majority of institutions are using other processes that have been set up to manage the quality of different things, be that the quality of teaching, the quality of publication, to assess the quality of OER. So I think the first thing that I learned from that is if there is another system we can use, that's probably preferable to setting up a new system. I mean, new systems have got overheads, new systems have got costs attached to them. That's not to say that we can't set up new systems, especially if we're over here and we're commissioning content, because we can do anything we want over here. But as we start tending back towards this end, we can't actually really do that. And if we want to be sustainable, we probably want to be at least in the middle, if not slightly tending over that end. So the process is that the Opal report, which was done by a range of people in Europe and wider, led by David Kernohan, who now works at Leicester University. They said the policy, the processes that are being used already might include existing institutional processes, such as teaching quality assurance, which is basically where if you're teaching a course in an institution, somebody looks at what you're teaching before you teach it, to make certain it's actually of the required quality, or indeed that you've planned it at all. Secondly, you've got existing web copy processes. If you've got marketing processes, if you've got people that check stuff before it goes online to make sure it makes your organisation look good and it's actually legal and not breaking any laws, then that's something else can be used in this case. You've got the peer review processes, either formal peer review like in journals, open journals, that kind of thing, or informal peer review where you post something on the on a blog and say something like, okay, I like this, I've made this, what do you guys think? Look for comments that way. And then you've got OER released as an occasion for academics themselves to look at materials and say, okay, I'm putting this out there with my name on it. I want to make certain it's as good as possible. I'm not just going to put out any old nonsense with my name on it, because that's going to make me look bad. And the final one, which I think is potentially more interesting to AgShare, is students and end users looking at the resources, seeing if the resources are actually useful to them. Now, I've included a little table. I'm not certain if I've included it in such a way as you can read it. I hope so. This is a project based at De Montfort University in the East Midlands of the UK that is using the evaluation of OER by students as a teaching tool to teach information literacy, to teach digital literacy. Now that, I think, is an interesting model, and you've got similar things happening down the road in the University of Michigan, where a team that was until recently led by Ted Hans has been using a tool called Orca to get students to look at and assess OERs, and then offering them credit for doing so. I also mentioned working with end users. AgShare, of course, has been doing this a lot in actually talking to the farmers in question whilst actually developing resources and refining resources. And also students as producers, students directly making the resources themselves as a part of assessed work. So I've got 5 minutes left, and I'm actually ahead of myself on this bit, so I can calm down and relax a bit. Apologies for talking so fast, by the way. It seems to be a British thing that we talk really, really fast and really intensely, and everyone's like, "Whoa, stop, stop!" So I'm sorry for doing that, and I'm sorry for Peter doing that yesterday. Thinking about this as I was preparing this section with Christine, we came up with the idea of resources having three aspects of quality. That's the diagram on the second side of this sheet that looks like a triangle. Because it is a triangle, it has three sides and three corners, and the internal angles add up to 180 degrees. That's pretty much a triangle by anyone's standards, I think. So the three corners or vertices of this triangle are technical matters, and I've included legal in there as well, which is basically can this resource that we've made actually be used? Is it in a format that the end users can actually access? Is it licensed appropriately? Does it naughtily contain things that aren't actually covered under the license? Is it tied to using a particular platform or a particular tool or a device, or can it be used by anybody on anything? Academic. Christine wanted to me to call that one scientific, but I preferred academic because it's more widely applicable. Is it something that is defensible? Is it something that's backed up by academic research? Is it something that is actually based in something you can point to and say, okay, this comes from that? And the last vertice is pedagogic. Is it something that is designed or built in such a way that it actually supports learning and supports reflection and anything else that you want to do in that kind of pedagogic space? I think that one's slightly woollier than the other two. It kind of combines the other two in some ways, but I've kept it separately. So I think it's about time to get everyone to stand up. So can everyone stand up, please? This is not the moment where we start singing. It's okay. That's actually later after this bit. So what I need to have is three groups of people clustered around these three flip charts. It doesn't matter which one you go to, because you're going to get a chance to look at all of these aspects. So can I have people just quickly organizing themselves to stand around each of the three flip charts? There should be roughly 10 around each. Let's see if this works. Yeah, keep moving. I'm not just giving you numbers. That is such a deterministic approach to educational facilitation. We can't have that. It's all about choice and learner autonomy. This is what we're doing here. This is what we're about. Now, this is actually quite an easy exercise. It's just basically straight ahead brainstorming. So brainstorming means that you write things down as fast as possible. You don't stop at the start and kind of redefine the question. You don't stop in the middle and say, that's not an especially good idea, is it? You just generate as much as you can, because large parts of it are going to be useful. What I'm actually asking you to generate is potential ways under each of these three headings that quality could be assessed. It could be a really complex idea, it could be a really simple idea, it could be something I've said so far, it could be something that I haven't said so far. I kind of hope it's the latter, but it doesn't matter if it's not. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then I'm actually going to move you along to the next flip chart, so you can add stuff that's not actually already there, and then move you along again. So before I kick people off, does everyone understand what they're doing at this point? Is there anyone that would like more explanation or more time to think about this? I think we're good to go. So, on your marks, get set, go. Lots of fantastic stuff here being generated. You've got stuff ranging from ideas and sorts, kind of right all the way to specific stuff that actually exists already and you can point to and you can use. The stuff that's, thank you. The stuff that's kind of right over on this side of the stage, stuff that would potentially be the kind of stuff that you'd look for if you're paying for content anyway, be it open or non-open. And there's stuff that's kind of right over here, which is really simple stuff you can do to encourage people to release good quality content openly because they want to. So there's a massive range of different ideas here in each of the three areas. Now the next step of this, actually before I do that, I want you to pick up on one comment that was made over here in this corner, which I loved, and I'm just going to read the actual words. Somebody wrote, is it any different because it's open? And I think that was absolutely fantastic, because a lot of the time it's not. A lot of these principles and ideas is stuff that we use with all kind of content, with textbooks, with worksheets, with kind of even mainstream media content. It's not necessarily different because it's open. We don't need to completely reinvent the quality wheel because we're dealing with OER. There's lots of principles and ideas and processes that are being used anyway that we can pinch and reuse. And I like that idea a great deal because that actually tends to make things more sustainable. If you're doing stuff that's being done anyway, it's not something you're going to start from scratch and build structures. That was really, really important. The person that wrote that, thank you very, very much. I'm much obliged to you. Right, the next exercise. You will see on your table a piece of paper that looks like this. Has everybody got a bit of paper that looks like this? It's like got a circle on it and a little bit of text on the top. It's in portrait. Landscape, it's in landscape. That's portrait, that's landscape. Now, this you can do this pretty much how you like. We're going to give you a long time to do it. We'd recommend it's probably easier to do in pairs or in threes. So it might not be something that you want to do by yourself, and it might not be something that you want to do in a big group. What we'd like you to do is to put together a quality assurance workflow for AgShare. We've got lots of potential stuff all over the walls here that we could put in the work flow. We could find correspondences. We could do one thing that meets a number of these. We could have quite a complex, quite a managed process. We could have something that's more about staff development and training. We could have stuff that's learner-led. There's lots of potential options, and we could combine these things. So this is actually a real-world problem space. The best answer on these sheets is going to be something that the AgShare team are actually going to be using, possibly. And so what I'd like people to do, I'm going to, yes, the pitch at the end. If you're working in a pair or a three and you come up with something you think is really good and really makes sense, we'd like to give you a chance to do a 1-minute pitch at the end of the 20 minutes. So you might want to use part of the time to prepare something for that, or you could just stand up and talk like everybody else does, or you could do something, anything that you like. I mean, you could sing if you want. You probably don't want to sing, but you might want to sing. I'm not going to stop you. So I'm going to let you have 20 minutes to work in 2s or 3s on this diagram, which will be collected at the end of that time. So thank you very much, and on you go, please. Okay. So that's the end of the time that you've got. You haven't got any more time to write things. It's now time for presentations. So this is the bit where everybody stops talking. Let's see if this works.
Attention.
Yeah. Last orders at the bar, please, ladies and gentlemen. No? That's good, right? Okay. So the first people that are going to come up and pitch. First of all, if I could ask for volunteers. Is anybody really keen to come up and pitch?
Don't forget, you get to win one of these.
Yeah. You literally can't get these things. I mean, you can't get the money back yet over there. So can the person come up, introduce themselves?
Everybody in the club. All eyes on us. All eyes on us.
Okay, so can you briefly tell us, first of all, who you are?
Okay.
And then present that in 1 minute.
Sure. I'm Mark Freudenberger from Tetra Tech ARD in cold Burlington, Vermont. We are faced with a very pragmatic issue that we wanted to develop in our table, in that our sense is that this whole issue of value chain expansion has to deal with broader issues like land tenure and property rights, and that's the bias that Christina and I bring to this conference. So our publication challenge is around one central theme: the generation of new knowledge around land tenure and property rights in relation to strengthening value chains. So that's the goal of this process. So for us, the publication is not a paper. It's not a video. It's not a text. The publication is actually an online training course with and for an institution, academic institution internationally. So first of all, we have to develop a partnership, and we need to have champions within an institution, ideally in Africa. And within that group of champions, people who want to work on the land tenure and property rights issues. Our second assumption is that we need to have someone to pay for this process. It's not cheap. So step number one at the top of the sheet. We need to create a consultative governance committee for the whole process of national and international champions and expertise on land tenure and property rights as it relates to value chain strengthening. The second task is to assess the existing materials, training courses, for instance, on this subject. What's out there in the international world of open access knowledge. The third step, create by students and faculty with financing through a grant, for instance, the video, the text, the database that's needed for a country-specific course on land tenure property rights as it relates to value chain strengthening. The third and fourth steps are very easy. Create a peer review process to look at the scientific content of this course. Does it meet international standards of best practice in the field of land tenure and property rights? The step after the peer review number 1 at the bottom of the sheet, revision by the authors themselves after that peer review. Then it goes back to a second peer review process looking at the pedagogical content with local and international expertise. Do the national and international peer reviewers agree that the pedagogy is sound for training in this complex, fuzzy issue of land tenure and property rights as it relates to value chains? Then moving along the flow chart, you need to do a revision, but that revision, the final revision, needs to be pilot tested and revised. So pilot testing online courses is vitally important with host country national students and faculty to make sure that the cultural context is taken account in that final version of your online publication, your online course. And so finally, with great acclaim, we will launch with our partners together an online training course on the importance of land tenure and property rights as it relates to the strengthening of value chains in Africa, supported by the Gates Foundation through AgShare number 2 or 3. That's our plug. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for presenting that and kind of opening the session. Have we got another volunteer, or shall we pick on somebody?
A competitor. Team A. Who's Team B?
You really don't want me? Yes. This table over here. Up you come. Thank you. Yay! Okay, this microphone here. If you could start by telling us quickly who you are, and then run through the model that you have. Thank you very much.
Okay, my name's is it what? Oh, you can hear
close to you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Francis Wambalaba, and we worked with the Constant and Article, that table. We wanted to work on the case study. This is actually students, master students who are going in the field to develop a case study. And the goal is that the case studies that they are developing have to be published online as well. And of course, they'll need to go through some process. And so starting with the creation of the knowledge that they have developed, obviously they have gone in the field, they have identified the topics, and through the guidance of the faculty and some experts from MSU, they have guided these students in identifying the topics that relate to the content of the material that needs to be developed. And so that becomes the basis on which they will be also evaluated in terms of whether the case study is going to meet that content or not. And so once they have done that, they have to write the draft. They have gone back to now the stakeholders, or at least the the people, they wrote the case from to validate that yes, indeed, the content that is in there is factual and it's what they were given, so that there is actually a sign off that yes, indeed, it has it represents the case as it were. And then once they have done that, obviously there could be some revisions that will need to be made, and readjustments and realignments, because now there is a conflict between there is the content that is required, and there are limitations in terms of certain things that can be revealed and what cannot be revealed. And so they have to do that balancing and readjusting and realigning. And once they have done that, and then they have to now look into the template, because the publication requirements, there is a template, there are requirements that they have to meet, and so do some editorial adjustments, structural and organizational edits. And when they finish that, now the publisher will now submit this to the peer review, and obviously looking at the quality of the content and the suitability of that content to the material that, or at least the courses that have to be developed. And with that, there is also need to ensure that there is topic diversity. It's thematic, but it also has to be diverse, so that the reviewers are looking at that diversity as well as fitting in with the theme of that publication. And then it will be published. But that's not the end. Once published, there will be need for dissemination of this information, publicity of the information, so that it's well received. And the goal of that is so that there can be some feedback loop from those recipients who are going to use that information. And so that there are also some ratings, of course, that will be generated through that process. And out of those ratings, then we'll need to document what are the weaknesses of these documents that we have produced, the case studies. And the goal here is to identify the gaps. And obviously those gaps will create a second generation of case studies that will have to be developed.
Fantastic, thank you very much. That's a really nice model, thanks very much. Right, who's next then? Okay, I'm seeing somebody at this table being volunteered, so I'm going to pick on them too. Can we have somebody from the table in the centre please come up? Yeah, but you're going to say it differently. Thank you very much. Yay! Yeah, take this mic. Just briefly introduce yourself first of all, and then.
Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to my table right here and their lovely confidence in me. My name is Lori Chamberlain, and I'm working with Grant with Dr. Kanini and Deepa, working in Malawi. So our group, similar to the other groups who have already presented, we talked about differently. We talked about an entry point for where our students or faculty are going to be creating a resource online. We decided that we were going to add an extra 0.5 step where we would have a template for that entry point to make sure that before the student or the faculty start, that they have a clear direction and they are starting with an idea that is going to be relevant. From there we move to another step of just following the established protocol and the template. Having department review first prior to this content being reviewed by peers, working on the initial technical aspects of it first to make sure before we get all the way through the process that we aren't doing something that is not going to flow well. For our steps 1 through 4, we have the arrows going moving both ways, because we realize that after any of those steps, it can go back to the first step. We then move on to the production aspect of packaging the material. We will move on to final edits respective to the venue and the the specific audience. After publication, we again want to mark it and make sure that we're disseminating the information effectively, setting up a mechanism to capture feedback, and finally having a step to analyze the feedback in a formal manner. Again, starting the process again, having that feedback enter in at the starting point again for a future idea. Thank you, and that is our group's presentation. Who's next?
That's excellent. Yes, indeed. Who's next? Excellent. Thank you very much, you guys. You can draw it? Yeah, sure. Got a microphone? Yeah, here you go. Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
I can stay down here. Excellent. Oh, careful.
That could have been nasty. Right. Okay, yeah. Let's bring it to the front. Lovely.
Okay, so my name is Julie Funk, and I'm here. I'm the director of the Online Master of Science and Food Safety here at Michigan State University. And I think we are a bit different because we totally did it much more open and crowdsourced. So we almost skipped the entire bottom of the circle. But I think we're also a forest group too. So I'm doing it. Let me just do this, which is the modification. Let me just do a little writing here. Recreation 8, new creation, publish. So I guess what we started to call this is it somewhat follows the virtuous cycle model where you get the feedback and you're trying to get constant feedback. And basically our whole model was much more open, in which we allowed this creation to occur, and we'd publish it in just go ahead and publish it in some way, maybe with the gradations of how you would allow access to it, but certainly we would just publish it, collect data on use modifications. Also, based on those modifications, we would do recreation not only of whatever the content is, but perhaps of our process as a whole, because maybe we messed up and our process was out of space. We totally either missed a group or had extraneous components that people never even used. And then which that ultimately allowed a new creation. And so in each part of these, we would reassess human, fiscal, technological processes. And we actually wanted to drive it. Nobody had origami or sculpting skills, but we see it much more like a helical DNA kind of cycle where it's continuously moving up this way. So we're a 3D forest type of group. So did I miss something, group? All right.
Spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're a forest.
That's the first person using visual aids, and that's impressive. Good to see. Next volunteers. Who fancies going next? Right. Last chance to compete to win the iPad case. iPad's not included. Please don't make me pick on somebody, because everybody knows if I pick on somebody, I'm going to pick on Terry's table. Come on, you guys.
Well,
Just talk.
imagine a drawing somewhat like that. We also were looking at more of a corkscrew model because we felt like there were not enough feedback loops in the circle to take account of the openness and therefore the porousness of this situation. So we started out, because we are a cautious table, we went and talked to our lawyers first and did a legal consultation to figure out what were the parameters we were going to work in to begin with. Then we assessed our goals and did a lit review to figure out what kinds of things were out there and what some of the language was so that we were in tune with it. Sorry, the diagram I have in, we left out our actual creation of the thing. We created the thing, whatever it was we were doing, our case study, and then did a fact check on it. Oh no, creation's further down. Sorry, we did a fact check first, and then looked at technical standards and storyboarded using all those materials, putting them together. Then we created our thing, and checked back then to make sure we were meeting all the standards we had already planned upon to begin with. We then started going out for quality control, and by quality control, which bit of quality? This was an initial check to make sure that we had met the other standards. That's why we did a legal review to make sure that all the pieces that we've put in there, we actually have the right to put in the way that we're presenting it. We did some metadata and cataloging so that this could be shared appropriately when we publish it. Then we published it so that other people can see it. At that point, it became available for peer review and field testing, where field testing meant the classroom as a field in which it was testing. And by the way, that was going in the assumption that the people who are doing this have some classroom experience. That's been feeding into our storyboard. So we've got prior classroom field testing going in and informing that situation. Also, in the field of the discipline, is it working in the world, and what kind of feedback are we getting from practitioners who are actually using this information? That's going to go back into our goals. And are we actually maintaining this appropriately? Do our links work from a technical standpoint? Does this work pedagogically? Are people trying to use it and finding that it doesn't communicate well? All of that will then go back into reassessment of our goals to see if we were doing what we thought we were going to do, or whether we need to change what we're doing altogether and can change that thing that we've published. So we either create a new artifact at that point, or we adapt the artifact we already had. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. So apparently it's lunch next, but I think we need to award some prizes, don't we? Okay, we have the news from Christine.
All right, the news from the judges is, well, we're not judging it. You're going to judge. We're gonna put these up at lunch in the atrium on the wall, so you can see each one and kind of look at it, closely, and then just put a little hash mark next to the ones you think. You can vote more than once, okay? So, but the point is to kind of just reflect on these different models. There's some similarities and there's some big differences. I just have one reflection to make that I would like to add, since we just have a couple minutes. There's a lot. It's a lot to do quality assurance, and we know we do all this every day with all of our faculty materials, don't we? Yeah. Right? Face to face, even online, we have all these quality assurance practices in place. So, we need to think these are all great ideas in the ideal world, and it has to be balanced with funding, practicality. More humans take more money, more process means more time and bottlenecks. So a lot of these things need to balance with the realities of implementation. That wasn't part of this contest, right? We were trying to say, okay, let's put everything in the ideal situation. But it'll be up to the AgShare team to take these models and inform their own processes, but not only for the outputs of the student work, like the cases and the curriculum materials that come out of it, but also we're considering creating a publication for AgShare materials, so that there's a peer-reviewed publication with scientific quality and all that good stuff. That's where we have an opportunity to create a new process really informed by this, because it'll be something we hope that would ensure these 3 different types of quality that David has covered so well, incorporate a lot of the ideas that emerged from here, and really implement something new that becomes maybe a carrot. Like you want to go through that pain of that overhead process because you want to be included in this thing, because people look at it and use it, it's valuable. Anyway, that's kind of one of the ideas we have for AgShare too. So thank you for participating. Do you want to do a closing comment before we go?
Yeah, just a closing comment. Thank you all for participating. I was walking around the table. So everybody getting involved, everybody doing this stuff. Can you please make sure your piece of paper finds its way to a member of the AgShare team so we can put them on the wall and keep them and use them? And thank you very much for putting up with me presenting to you. Thank you.